Hey guys, good evening and welcome back to the Creative Cranium. I just got to say real quick, I love that pirate intro, that gang that put that video together. What an excellent job. Gang, I got some terrific guests tonight, so we're going to jump right in. I got Carissa Grant, Jeofrey Cotton, and Brandon Lee from Avalon Comic. Hey, real quick, let's go around the room. We'll introduce ourselves and tell us the project that you are mostly known for. Carissa, I'm going to start with you.
I am known for Worthy Chaos Redemption. I am currently live on Kickstarter for 4 more days. And it's a supernatural Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Silent Hill, Resident Evil horror adventure comic book. Issue 4 is now current on Kickstarter. So
Perfect. Brandon, let's jump over to you next. Tell us who you are and what you're doing.
I'm Brandon Starocki. I'm the creator and writer of Avalon. That's what I'm most known for, I guess, in this kind of category. Avalon's a post-apocalyptic comic book that has a little bit of something for everywhere. You follow the Castle family through this nightmarish world for everlasting safety. And we currently have a Kickstarter on as well. That's live right now as well.
Perfect. And Jeofrey, how about you, sir?
What's up, everybody? I'm Jeofrey, and if I had to say what I was most well known for, even though it's not my current project, it's probably what's on my t-shirt here, Awful Thoughts. It's my horror anthology. It's kind of like modern suburban horror. It's just weird, violent short stories. And it was a lot of fun. It's been real successful, and it's been sort of rebooted as of late. It just funded again on Kickstarter recently. And so now I'm in the process of kind of condensing it and printing it all again and kind of just unloading it like a one shot. It was 3 issues before, but again, it was all kind of just slapped together. I didn't really know my way around comics yet. And since then, I'd like to deliver a more polished product. So that's what I'm doing now.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. And it's Jeofrey.
Jeofrey, right.
Sorry, I mispronounced you there at the beginning. I'll get it now.
Okay, no problem. It happens.
Okay, cool. So what I'd like to do tonight, and if you guys haven't seen this show before, what we like to do is to kind of get inside the heads of the creators. And first of all, I'm really glad that it's you 3 because I know a couple of you slightly, and I definitely know Carissa, and she's got a great backing to talk about this topic tonight, which our topic is, what is the setting of our books? And what I want to ask Carissa, I'm going to go to you first. First, tell us about the setting, and then how did you come up with it?
So book 1 is set in a small town that is currently merging with hell. And they are currently trapped there. And the longer they're there, the more the creatures start coming out. So you've got hellhounds and ghosts and zombies and Anubis and zombie merman. And I just somehow got 2 new backers. So yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, it's a Silent Hill kind of story for book 1. And we also have zombie mermen, so I can't forget those. So the setting is pretty much a disaster. It's a chaotic mess of creatures and their own little version of hell. And there's kind of little hints that you see that it's actually her fault, because when she's walking into town, there's just a tiny crack behind her. And then later you see that the whole entire thing is like cracked apart and all that stuff. So how I came up with it was I loved Silent Hill. I love the thought of getting trapped. Well, not personally, but the horror of getting trapped in this town. And I have lived in a small town, and even without the merging with hell, it was not a great place. It's not, it's a kind of a horror-filled nightmare of boredom when you're there. And I do like small town feels, but the major inspiration is the town in Pennsylvania that started as a.
Are you going to tell us about Centralia?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That freaking town, man. They did an annual underground burn, and one year they just just set the entire world on fire, and that was, what is it now, decades ago, and it's still burning underground.
It's still going now. Yeah.
The entire town evacuated. There is 1 survivor left right now. They cannot get any mail delivered to them. The town paid the state government paid them to move, but half of them didn't want to move for whatever reason. I think 2 survivors died like a couple of months ago, and now I don't know if he's still there, but as of last year, there was 1 person left. But there's nothing, he just didn't want to leave his family home. So yeah, it's toxic to be there. So
well,
it pretty much fit the version of hell that I pictured. So.
Yeah, and I love Silent Hill, and it's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. And I am a Pennsylvanian, for those of you that don't know. So I combine my Silent Hill affiliation, honestly. So let's jump over to Brandon. That's the Avalon comic. And first off, the thought just occurred to me. I'm in a horror gang here tonight, so this is going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, and Brandon, I know you're post-apocalyptic. Can you encapsulate for us your setting, and how did you come up with it?
Yeah, like you and how your Worthy Chaos is as well. It's set in Pennsylvania. It seems like Pennsylvania. Right, you said yours was set in Pennsylvania, right? It just seems like Pennsylvania is the go-to for. I know. Now you got to kind of change it into Pennsylvania. It seems like the hell on earth, honestly. But so yeah, right. Avalon is set in Erie, PA, more specifically. It's kind of like a small town. I've heard it called like kind of like a Raccoon City. If somebody who likes games and Resident Evil and stuff, they kind of give it a Raccoon City kind of vibe in Erie that we're going on right here. But it's set in Erie, PA. Even with the name and all that stuff, it brings a lot of light to the kind of the horror kind of element of it all. And how the idea kind of came to life was, I'm a big zombie genre guy, and it came down to the question I asked myself, how would I kind of pan out in a zombie apocalypse? So then asking that over years and seeing different projects and movies and shows and all that good stuff, I ended up, kind of jotting down things I wanted to do, presented it to Alan. We kind of bounced heads together, trying to come up with this kind of story. We came up with Avalon, and now we're here. Now we added another writer, which was on the show, on another show recently, Callie Oberlander. She, so the Avalon team is growing. We're getting more, in depth with the writing. It's really trying to bring the characters and make them feel more real as time goes on.
All right, great. Thanks for sharing that. Before I break over to Jeofrey, real quick. So there's 3 writers.
Yeah. Well, we're going to move because Alan helped with Plan A, or the Season A1. And so he's going to be part of it kind of on a minor level. Callie's going to take up kind of that Alan role. So it's going to be myself and Callie kind of taking over the role of Season 2 and so on until further notice, I guess. But so he's taking a smaller role in it and focusing on other aspects of, what we're doing and all that other, entertainment stuff. So, and we're going to be moving forward in that kind of regard going forward. And that's what it is. We're always looking to expand the team and make sure we're staying on track and make sure the story gets better and better as time goes on.
Perfect. Man, hold that thought, because I'm going to be coming back to that one, Brandon.
Okay.
And Jeofrey, let's come over to you. So we were talking a little bit about End of Man. Do I have it correctly?
Yeah. So earlier I mentioned, you're asking about what I was most well known for, and that was Awful Thoughts. My current project is my first trip into the sci-fi genre. And it's End of Man. And its setting is in Denton, in North Texas, in the hill country. And this one, it's got some horror elements. Like, that's what I like to write most. But sci-fi is equally as fun. And I'm planning on doing some more sci-fi stuff. But this one in particular is about a college student that stumbles across a meteorite right as it hits and impacts. And she's forever changed by it. And I don't want to give away too much, but that's the one that's currently on Kickstarter now. It should be a lot of fun. It combines stories like in movies and shows like the X-Files and Venom, and to go back to some old anime, the Guyver was a big inspiration for it, and even stuff like Power Rangers and Radiant Black and some of the newer indie stuff. Sure. Kind of see where I'm going with that, possibly. At any rate, it's scheduled for 3 issues. I did some pre-sales. I tried to get off into like doing stuff myself back in October, because Kickstarter, I noticed it would only let you move forward once the other project was fulfilled, yada, yada, yada. And to make a long story short, I was trying to branch out and do a lot. You know, I mean, I felt like I was being limited there. And I tried some Indiegogo, I think, for a project, and it was just a beautiful disaster. So I got away from that. I kind of wanted to focus on Kickstarter and then try to do something myself. And it worked, and I got a lot of help and support, but it's been like 6 months, 7, 8 months or something since I set out to do it. We're finally here though. And it was originally scheduled to be just black and white artwork, and it didn't really quite have that pop like I was looking for. And I'm sure you guys could probably attest to what I'm saying. When you get some full color artwork, it's pretty much night and day, in my opinion. Not to take away anything from black and white artists and people that just ink and stuff. There's beautiful art all across, you know what I mean? But preferably, I would like to have some full color comic books that I'm writing and creating. And so I wanted to do that, and so that's taken a little longer as well.
Jeofrey,
here we are, though. We've got the Kickstarter.
You're the writer, right? Are you the writer, artist? What do you tell me about what you do?
Right, I do everything basically except the illustrations. I'll storyboard them, I write them, I letter them, I dress the covers, I design all that, and then once I've got a very strange, unorthodox approach, probably because I just kind of dove into it. And I just kind of freestyle wing it. I get an idea, I storyboard it, I give it to the artist. They bounce back the panels that I come up with and where I'm at. I always try to picture them like a movie, you know? And so those come back. And then based on what they give me, as long as it syncs up, then I'll go in and I'll letter it all. And I've got,
Before I forget, just so you know, for future, after you do 6 Kickstarters, you actually can do back-to-back. Just so you know.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've done. I read 9th or 10th one. Well, that's good. Okay, so
for comics,
I feel kind of like I don't want anybody to feel slighted or get anxious or get upset whenever I try it. Because in order to do that, just a little appealing shipped, you know. So I'm messaging people saying, "Hey, these digital copies are coming," or this.
I think he froze.
No.
Did we lose it?
Trying to juggle multiple projects, because not only do I have the Awful Thoughts reboot, you guys both mentioned Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and those are like my jams. So I've got Roseville, that's my big one, and I'm happy to say I think I'm going to finally complete it tonight. I've got all of this shell for all I need to do is go back and make the final revisions for all 24 pages and make sure everything is exactly how it needs to be. And I'll be able to release that digitally. That's my homage, my tribute to the stories like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, House of a Thousand Corpses, Centralia, Pennsylvania. I didn't know the name of the city, but I'm very familiar with that story. That draws inspiration. So all of that, so we all have all that in common. That's just another story. I didn't want to overload anybody or mention anything outside of, End of Man is really what I'd like to focus on, because I need help with that. Again, like I prefaced earlier, I've already got the support privately and months ago from most of my core fan base. So I'm in a position now where I'm trying to kind of grow organically. And as I'm sure all you guys can attest to, it's challenging. Without spamming people or getting scammed by people that are running your crap through bots or any variety of obstacles and hazards that you can encounter along the way. So it's just always a tough grind. And, I'm sure we're all in like the same 30 or 40 groups on Facebook, and I feel like sometimes I'm just throwing my crap out there and nobody's paying attention. But they are, brother. But they are, and you have to do that, and so that's where we're at. And one day, maybe we won't have to feel as anxious or anything like that. But in the meantime, I think we're all looking for a little help, and that's why we're here. And I think it sounds like we've all got some really cool stuff going on. And Timothy, congratulations, by the way, on the 200 backers, man. That's impressive.
Awesome.
I think the most I've ever pulled was like 103 or something, and I've gotten close, like where Carissa's at with Worthy Chaos. I've kind of knocked on the door of 100 a couple times, and that's no easy feat in and of itself. But 200, man, you got a lot of shipping and packaging and stuff to do.
He has hired somebody.
Yeah,
right?
I'm professional fulfillment now, which, by the way, I will recommend to anyone that will listen, and I'll tell you why. Because I had a little bit of a problem, and I'll tell you what it is. When we did, it was Lost at Sea. That was about a year ago. I generally try to do 3 a year if it works out. 3 Kickstarters, that is. But in fulfillment of that campaign, that was my first time to be over 100. That's probably like 150. I'm going by my memory, so excuse me if I got it wrong. But what happened is, and I was still working full time then, I'm going to the post office every day for like 2-3 weeks, and it was directly affecting my abilities as a creator. And what I mean by that, I'm a writer. If you know, I didn't get into this business because I want to be spending a lot of time at the post office and buying different kinds of cardboard. And that's what was happening to me. So of course they say, well, yeah, but you got to pay a little bit to do that. Well, you do, but you pay a little bit to your letterer, right? Or you pay a little bit to your artist. To me, the fulfillment is just one more facet of the enterprise that we're doing. That's one man's opinion, you understand. I understand that there's real cost reasons why you do stuff too.
It definitely makes sense.
Yeah. And like I say, everybody's experience is different. And I'll tell you, and by the way, Kurtis, I know you know all these people, so I'll name drop them. Like I'm pretty good friends with John Westhoff. He's been on the show a couple of times. And, you know, he does the pirate ship and he makes his own labels. And he's got the software. Yeah. Great guy, right?
Great guy.
But I always say to him, well, hold on a second. You know, you got to buy the software. You got to buy the label printer. You got your time, which for me, it's mostly the time.
I have a label printer.
Yeah, but they say, well, hey, don't pay for professional fulfillment. Well, it isn't cheap, but it certainly isn't as much as a label printer.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's all in your balance.
My label printer was like $40.
Oh, well, yeah, the pirate ship ones are like $280.
I use pirate ship, yeah.
I use pirate ship, but I just print out on a regular label maker. Actually, I love pirate ship, and not just for the name, but I do love the name.
But yeah, if people want to use it, hey, I'm not taking anything away from it. But man, my new thing I do now is I turn the files over and I sit right down and I start the next book.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty lazy. I can see me doing that someday. But
yeah. Well, and while we're on Carissa, let's jump over to you for the next question. Which my question, you know, I want to ask setting questions, and I'm real interested in Worthy Chaos, and I guess it makes a lot of sense, your setting, right? And the question I was going to ask was, what would be the benefits of telling the story in that setting? But for you, that's real obvious. So I want to do a harder one. What would be the drawbacks of your setting? Like the challenges?
I would say the drawback is, so each book has a different setting. So book 1 is the Helltown. And I guess the overall downside is you're stuck in town. So like you're only limited to how big this town is, which isn't very big. And you're limited to what they can do there or all that stuff. So that would be a drawback. And also, I mean, in book 2, the setting is a haunted asylum and they're trapped there too. So you're limited to the rooms that are in the, you know, that are in this one asylum and where they can go. And then book 3, they're in a zombie infested city that they can't get out. So yeah, I guess I limit my environment just a little too much. But yeah, it does limit to what you can do or what you can go. But it also makes it so a little bit more challenging because like in book 3, I mean, you go through the city, but then you go through the military hospital and then you go through the sewers and then you go through the labs. And so you do kind of go through these different
other settings,
different things. But yeah, you are limited to your scenery, I guess is the best way to say it.
Gotcha. And Brandon, how about you? I guess I would ask it this way. So first of all, is Avalon the name of the city, right?
No, it takes place in Erie, PA. So we're using the real city. Avalon has a few different meanings, 3 of them to be exact. I'll just there's three. I couldn't remember if it's said yet in issue 3 yet, but you'll find out at least one of them in the next 2 issues coming up here on what it is. And then there's a couple other reasons that we're not going to, you know, when we looked up the name, there's 3 reasons. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I can't say much yet until these 2 issues are out.
Okay.
But yeah, it takes place in Erie, PA, literally like Erie,
so there's a reason why it's called Avalon, but you don't want to say because it might be a spoiler.
It's a minor spoiler. I don't think it's like
that's
a
cool.
spoiler to ruin it, but like there's 3 reasons. It's like fun. Like for I've always liked this with shows or books or whatever it is. Like for myself, like they'll hide little Easter eggs in the stories, and then you get to kind of play it all out and figure it all out and all that stuff. But
Gotcha. Hey, and I respect that too. And one quick question I would ask you, because man, I love the zombie genre, and I think it's fair to say that all of us in this room do.
Sure, you have to, yeah.
Yeah. So when you were
sure.
first getting started, and so you and I talked before, Walking Dead was kind of an influence, right?
Yes, it was.
Would you say that's the main influence, or is there other influences in there as well?
Just the genre and as a whole would be the influence. The Walking Dead. I was relatively younger when it came out as a show, 2010. So and I watched it all the way through it up until the end, and then so it had a big part of my like, younger and mid, late teen, early 20 kind of age and all that stuff too. So a lot of that, but I just love the genre as a whole, like the original Dawn of the Dead, the remake Dawn of the Dead, the original Night of the Living Dead, all that stuff. So, and even like some of those like horror kind of intense vampire stories as well. Like I brought up 30 Days a Night, it's stuff like that. The whole kind of like horror kind of like survival aspect of things. It's fun to me.
Yeah, that's a good one. And so Jeofrey, how about you? Now you were horror before, and now you kind of made the U-turn into sci-fi. Before I ask this question, I do have one more setting question for you. So your setting is a little bit like an everyday, every world kind of setting, right? It's on Earth and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's in North Texas in Denton, and the plan was to have her her name's Patricia Bays, to have her be a college student at the University of North Texas. So it might be called Texas State now, I think, the same school. And they've got a big old observatory center out there, like a whole thing that's relatively new. And it sounded like a fun place to kind of have this meteorite crash down. And I wanted to do something in Texas. And since Roseville, my Resident Evil type of story, it's over in Georgia. I wanted to kind of come back and have something in Texas. And so yeah, that it'll start there. And then, but again, it's got this whole sort of X-Files vibe where, without giving away too much, she's going to have to go on the run, you know what I mean? And she's going to kind of move around different locations. And so the only thing I'm really limited by with my setting was probably like having to kind of restructure, like fictionalize the school and the buildings, because I really like to ground my stories in reality as much as I can. If I'm trying to do that, if I can obviously be, let people know this is fantastic, this is set in outer space, this is supposed to be supernatural, etc. But whenever I'm like a story like this, I want it to be, like in a modern day setting where it could actually, quote unquote, happen. You know what I mean? So I try, and with that said, I like to have the school and all that kind of be accurate and everything. But for copyright reasons or whatever, trademarks and all of that stuff, I need to kind of rework all that, but
sure,
give it the same idea,
Well, in violating a copyright, that's a real thing, right? Like one of ours was.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say one of ours.
It's like, sorry guys, it's like the weather, people watch the news, it's like they go to talk and I couldn't hold it in.
Yeah, there was a delay there, my bad.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Jeofrey. I don't know if there's too much we can do there though.
I just have to make a joke that and I love it, don't get me wrong. Every time there's somebody that knows me in the comments, I always need tons of explanation points. And I'm guessing because I'm loud as hell, but that is just, it always reminds me that they never just say hi. It's always my name. And like, so now it's like every time I see it, I'm like, they know me well enough.
They're excited to see you.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
I was going to make a quick mention of in the setting of our book, it's upstate New York, 1989. And the way that you would know that is that it's going to be peppered with music. There's a lot of music references, but I told a couple people this already. But the problem we had is that if you use even a snippet of lyrics, you're potentially in violation of copyright and you're going to get a cease and desist. So we took all musical references out. And then we sat down and we created our own band and wrote a couple of songs for them and wrote lyrics. So that's what's whenever she listens to the radio, we have our own band and our own music and our own lyrics. Cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, we had to do something.
Yeah.
And like I say, there's always a drawback, right? So you'd say, hey, well, what is the drawback of that type of setting? In my case, you know, it's 1989. So there's not everybody that's going to, like somebody who knows who Motley Crue is, or, you know, Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or any of these classic metal bands, they're probably going to get it. But for people, if they don't know those bands, some of that's going to go right over their head. So that's mine is the setting is more so the year, you know?
Right.
I encountered that with a book I did. It's recently been discontinued. It was a fun little book set in South America about a little teenage girl that fights back against organized crime and stuff, and kind of like a little Batman teenager deal, you know. And it was a lot of fun, but the funding just wasn't there, the demand and everything. So we just kind of left it where it was at. Nevertheless, we infused a lot of music into it like 50s kind of smoking room kind of different, like Sinatra and Sammy Davis and all these different artists that I know of but wasn't super familiar with. And so I was getting to go back and look up and sample some music, and then I would write it into the panels, and kind of as foreshadowing is what I would like to use music for, you know. But like you said, if somebody doesn't know the song, it's not going to connect. And then I had no idea that, I'm not sure now that you mentioned about the copyright stuff. Like for example, I had the Candyman, you know, Sammy Davis Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if I were to just write like lyrics on there, could you be liable for like copyright infringement?
Yes,
Yep.
and it's strict too.
Yeah.
The way they phrase it is something like as soon as it is enough to recognize. Like, so what we're trying to do is to make it recognizable. So by doing that, you're already in violation. And the reason why
I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, the reason why I say
actually looked that up. I did look that up. Even one line from a quote or a song, they take that really seriously.
Mm-hmm. The reason why I say that is that's something that Stephen King does to great effect, you know, and of course Alan Moore did it too in The Watchmen.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the chapters, it'll have like a snippet of a lyric. But if it is enough to where you can recognize the song, then you are in violation.
Yeah, if it's like a common saying, that's a little different. But if it's a quote or a lyric,
right? If you can recognize it as the song, you know, like in ours, one of the original things was "Get Your Motor Running." It was going to be "Born to Be Wild," but everybody knows.
No, thanks. That's going to be stuck in my head now.
Yeah. Which, hey, and one of the good news is, we always kind of hope that the book will be widespread enough to get recognized to where it would be an issue. And I'm just going to throw that out there. I said myself,
that's a good problem to have, I would think. Yeah, a good problem to have, sort of, I guess. You know?
Well, if you get a cease and desist, that means that somebody saw it. So there you go.
People are paying attention,
go, right?
So tell you what, let's switch it up, because I want to ask Carissa this question, because we mentioned about how all of us struggle to develop additional customers. And I think it was Jeofrey said it. There's a trap that we all fall into. Ready? And I do it too. This isn't me being critical. I do this too. What happens is we join the Facebook groups and then we spam the groups. We spam it, right? Hey, spam in the groups with a link. What they are is they're link graveyards. There's nobody interacting with that.
They're graveyards. That's exactly what they are.
That's exactly.
I see all you guys posting. I'm like, God damn it, nobody's in here.
Well, hey, and I'll tell you what. Before I go to Carissa, I'll do one better. People always say things like this. You've probably heard it. They'll say, "Hey, man, the Facebook algorithm is crushing me. The algorithm is keeping customers from seeing my posts." You ever hear anybody say that?
All the time.
All the time. Yeah. Here's a little helpful tip for you. That's completely false. That's actually the opposite of what an algorithm does. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody in this room, I see all of your posts. You know why?
Did you follow me?
I follow them, right? If you have somebody if you have somebody that says, "Well, I didn't see your post," it's because they're not following you and they're not engaging. They don't want to see the stuff. So we've got to learn how to, avoid that person and engage the person who does want to see it. Right. And my sense is it doesn't come from spamming the link graveyards. So I
don't do those anymore, because I tried posting. I've never gotten anyone from a group ever. This whole campaign, I didn't post once, I don't think, in a group, or maybe I think I did once when I first launched, and it doesn't get me anywhere. Yeah. So I don't even bother. And then I'm sick of seeing myself, because if I cross promote, Ryan's being distracting. Yes, I'm very popular, Ryan. Not really.
So,
but-
Carissa, so what is your plan going to be then? You know, are you going to do Google ads? Are you going to, what's your marketing plan?
Oh, there's supposed to be a plan? Damn, I didn't thought this through. I hate cons, so it ain't cons. I mostly do a ton of podcasts. 43 this campaign.
Oh,
wow.
And that's after 8 canceled. So it would have been a nice even 50. The bastards. But yeah, I already have 22 set up for my next campaign. So it's mostly luck, maybe some spells I'll figure out. But yeah, I and Twitter, you know, Twitter helped. I got 5,000 followers, so that helps me.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, the same 20 people see my stuff, so
Yeah.
but those are 20 loyal people. Like
That's
everything.
the
Like,
important part right there.
yeah.
The
Those
loyalty.
20 the only ads I do, Facebook ads have never worked for me.
Yeah, me either.
I tried to
Me
figure
either.
out I tried to figure out Reddit and I could not figure out. It hated me, so I didn't bother.
oh, geez, I don't like Reddit.
Well, Reddit, they had some kind of like $100 free for advertising, but it would never go through. So I'm like, screw you. If I can't even get my own ad to play, I'll do Kickstarter, I'll do Twitter ads, but I'll do like $10 at a time. And I don't think they do anything, but I just like seeing the number go up. But I don't think it actually brings me any followers. I literally think that I'm like, it's just because everybody knows me. So like they've heard me on some kind of podcast.
That's something you do really well, Carissa. And it's something, and by the way, we both know this together because we were both kind of doing this at the same time.
Yeah.
We started back in, what was it, October or last year or something
October.
like that.
So I've been doing this for 6 months.
Yeah. And I remember we said at the time, because it was new for me too. And I said, look, I'm going to be doing the podcasting thing. I'm getting nowhere with these groups.
This podcasting thing.
Well, and
you know, remember when I was like, I don't know if I can be on podcasts, because I get nervous, and my biggest thing is I'm dyslexic, so I can't stand it when someone says what's their name, because I'll say a name wrong, and then I get made fun of. Yeah, now I think my first podcast was like December, like after because first of all, no one knew I was a girl. So when I was on Twitter, I got called, you know, bro, son, whatever. And which I'm fine with. Not the son so much. But bro, dude, whatever. That's fine. Brother was a little weird. But I heard that females don't do as well on the horror genre. So I was more, you know, reserved, a little hesitant. And then I met Laurie. And I was like, screw that. She's cool as can be. And she kicks ass. So I'll just do what she's doing. Nice. And then she dragged me on shows. And now here I am. So.
And Brandon, how about you? You know, marketing, when you started for Avalon, what was your plan and what would you change?
Apparently I would just jump on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the thing though too. And I was curious too, like, where do you guys even find these podcasts? Like, I feel like I'm looking and I find them.
Know? Do you want to know?
I mean,
I message them. I search YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I search for the word podcast. And then I literally send out probably 20. I sent out so many messages in one time that I got banned because they thought I was a bot.
Yeah.
So and I would say 96% of them have written back and put me on their show. I have like 22 for June. For some reason, my mind doesn't care about August. And I have a ton in October because October is my huge release with the last issue in the book 1 and the graphic novel for book 1, and so I've been setting all those up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I do is I write to these people.
So I guess I'll ask both. I mean, I don't know if all three of you do it as well, but like, are you just looking for any sort of podcast, not horror related, not
horror or comic? That's it.
Oh, okay. Horror comic kind of.
Horror is my favorite. But horror or comic, so
yeah,
horror or comic. I said that as one whole word, and it's not. But horror or comic.
I've definitely done a select few podcasts. You know, I wasn't actively looking for them. Like if I saw one and it was like horror kind of genre or whatever, they're talking about stuff like that, I would shoot them a message and all that stuff too. Maybe I just stopped acting so robotic with my messages sometimes, but yeah, basically it was just all the stuff you guys mentioned. You know, it was the Facebook, it was you know, the Instagram, trying to get that stuff in, spamming those kind of things, and those groups that were all part of what you mentioned as well. And I think the answer is right here. Just I got to change the podcast, and I think the biggest thing, especially for all of us in like this indie comic creating world, is, you know, allowing these people to see us, you know, hear us talk, you know, even meet us. We get to chat with them. I think that's the most important part for people to kind of see who we are, and if they like us, then maybe they back us, or, you know, maybe they say they like the artwork, they back the project or the artwork or whatever it is and stuff like that. Just I think that's the direction I would have to go in. I mean, because obviously I feel like I hit just like a wall for a little bit. I feel like it worked maybe a little bit, but like you hit this wall and you're not getting more, you know. But that's that.
Jeofrey, how about you? What's your marketing strategy look like?
So I've got a built-in audience, I think. I don't know how big it is, but I've got a lot of loyal people that'll show up pretty consistently. I think I'm trying to build on that. So, and in order to get those types of people, like you guys said, you got to really make personal connections and be visible and active. And I got a head start because my full-time job is actually comic book related. Like I buy and sell, resell online. I grade them, clean them, press them, submit them. Anything, I sell them on consignment for people and stuff. So I was very active on the comic book Facebook scene, social media scene, long before I started a comic book. And so that gave me a lot of momentum early on. But then since then, you know, it's been about a year and a half, and I've floundered here and there. I'll be the first to tell you, I just jumped in the deep end, you know what I mean? And tried to, and I've managed to swim though, you know, against all odds, I'm still here. So there's still a lot of work to do, still trying to clean everything up as I'm unloading this kind of new lineup and trying to move forward, you know, having learned what I've learned. But I've still got a nice, consistent core group of people that I want to keep happy. And all you have to do for all I would like to do personally from here, so, like Carissa said, those podcasts I think they're very important. Being able to come on here tonight and talk to you. When I booked with you, I reached out and just kind of made some posts. Brandon, all I did was
I appreciate that, by the way. And
I just said, hey, I'm looking to do some podcasts. I make comics. I'm legit, you know, holler at me. Or if you know somebody, drop a link or something. And I plugged in like 3 or 4. I feel terrible because I don't even remember the guys' names that I'm going on like next week and the week after. I'll catch back up with them, obviously. But I would give them a shout out if I remembered them. But it was just so quick, bang, bang, bang. You know what I mean? And now it's ready. It's lined up. So I've got an opportunity, and hopefully something will come from that. And if anything, you know, got to come out here and meet you guys and talk and you know.
Well, like
thanks for
Ronnie
coming.
says, networking is key.
It's huge. I used to do hip hop music, believe it or not, before this. In another life, I was a rapper, believe it or not. So I've kind of let that me kind of like just set to the side, you know. But if you ever want to do some digging, you can find some music. Nevertheless, though, I learned a lot from that and how to network. And I used to put shows together and hire other artists, and we'd make events. And it's a lot like, you know, like it's not unlike what I'm doing now. And again, I mean, networking and getting to know people and really making that personal connection is important. It's easy. Brandon, I heard you say earlier, like try to not be as robotic or mechanical with it. And I can, I find myself in that pattern sometimes. I got to kind of break out of it. You know, the internet makes it real easy, but like we all know,
make it more humane, you know.
Sometimes it feels like the internet's just like dead, like it's like just like an AI talking back to me, like nobody's even there. I swear to God, you know what I mean? I'll post stuff all day. I'm talking about like 2 hours. I'm posting in groups where my stuff is still there from like the top post from like 5 days ago. I'm like, say, all right, leave this group.
I sometimes throw this out. One of the secrets is, and this is a pretty easy one, if you're advertising something a certain way and it's not getting any hits in a group, you're doing something wrong, because what
Right.
that means is nobody's viewing it and no one's liking it. So change it up, switch the
Right.
image, different text, but whatever it isn't, I promise you, it's not Facebook saying, I don't like this guy, I'm going to use the algorithm to crush him. It
Oh,
totally
no,
is
not at
not
all.
that. And I don't know, I'm confused when people say things like that. It's literally the opposite of what an algorithm is. The people who want to follow your things, you'll
You
show
have
up
to-
in their stuff 3, 4, 5 times a day.
You just got to find those people, man. And they're just
Yeah.
they're just not in a lot of those places, or it's going to be so quick bang if they're even in there. Like a lot of those groups are designed for people to find our stuff, but it's mostly
Right.
just people like us that are trying
Yeah.
to, and a lot of us, as much as we care about each other and want to help each other and grow the community, we're too busy trying to do what we're trying to do.
I
you know?
knew you were going to say that. And look, Carissa and I talked about this. We talked about this back in October. And
I
by the way,
remember.
when I say this, please don't ever hear that I'm disparaging anyone, because I've done all these same things. I've done all of it. So, but as creators, we all fall into this trap. And what we do is we start working other creators for sales. And it's wonderful that we're supportive and stuff. But the truth is, we're not each other's end customers, right? We've got to find, like, the reality is that your customer base might be very different from mine, and Carissa's might be very different from yours. So it's awesome that we help each other out, but we still have to find that customer, because they are out there. We just have to figure out where.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course, if we could figure that out, we'd be millionaires.
Right.
We'll get there. You just got to find them. You got to remember, man, there's millions of people out there that want to read all of our books.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out where they're at. It just
Where they
takes
at?
a lot of work. I was on Twitter pretty hardcore when I first linked up with Carissa. I'm on her, following her stuff, and Laurie on the Path of the Pale Writers on Twitter. I don't use it as much. I'm guilty of that. But for a while there, what I try to do is just follow people that are following the people that I'm trying to aspire to be, like horror stuff. And so you'll follow a group of them, and then they'll follow you back. And then you try to see if anything comes from it. And oftentimes, like Carissa said, you might have 5,000 people and it looks great, but really what's like 20, 30 of them are really caring about it. And it gets tedious, but that's how you grow it, you know, and eventually one day, maybe that 5,000 will turn into 10,000, and then it'll be 50 or 60 loyal people. And from there, man, if we're cranking out a couple hundred backers on Kickstarter and doing nationwide distribution, all of a sudden it becomes
It all starts clicking. It all starts kind
of falling into place, right? But it takes a lot of work. It's a tough grind, man. But I can't thank anybody enough that supported me and helped me with Kickstarter. As I'm sure you guys would say, man, and without those people, I would not have an opportunity, because these books cost a lot of money to make. And if I didn't letter them and do all this crap myself, I would be probably $5,000 in per book if I had to guess, or something close to that by the time it was all
that's
said.
about where I'm at. I probably
You're paying for some really badass artwork and multiple covers and lettering and all of that stuff. And if people are really breaking it down and trying to hit you, you know, I could easily see somebody spending that. So, but anyways, I'm super
be out $9,000 like me.
Well, yeah, and let's talk about that, right? Because I will say, how do I want to ask this questions? Let's change this up just a hair, because it'd be fair for most of us to say that we didn't get into comics because we heard that's where all the money was. Right? So let's jump over to Carissa. Super talented person, right? She's writer, entrepreneurial, could do 100 different things. Carissa, why comics?
Because as a writer, I have the extreme talent of being a storyteller without actually being like a novelist. Like, you're supposed to, when you write, you know, the whole show don't tell thing, and I don't have that ability. I tell. I'm a horrible writer, but I'm an amazing storyteller. And so when I was converting to scripts, it is super easy because I already said what happens. Like, I explain what happens when you walk in the room, and what you saw and what you did. And I could write, you know, when I wrote, you know, I think I told you I wrote 11 novels. I think everyone knows this by now. So I have the 11 novels, and I already have them in word form, but I can't see them. I see them in my head, but I wanted to see them on paper. And I just, you know, I grew up with comics and I love comics, but it honestly was because I wanted to see my characters, you know, do the things that I said they did. So this is really just for me.
Yeah.
Hopefully other people
a
will
great
read it.
answer.
But,
Chris, as you know, there's
yeah.
no wrong answers. And really, I love to get inside the creative space in you guys' heads. And that's what's interesting to me. And that's really what we try to accomplish. Brandon, how about you? So why comics?
I thought I was going to be a millionaire right out of the gate. No, I almost the same reasons as Carissa was saying as well. I had this idea in my head when I first had it way back in high school. The original idea when I knew nothing about anything. I wanted to be kind of like in the Hollywood, like directing and kind of doing like movies and stuff like that. So the original idea was supposed to be something like that, but there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to really do that. I don't have the money. I don't have, I got to work up to that. I can't just do that, and the next step, it was going to be a novel. But then I don't like to read books like that. I'm not one of those people. I don't want to see all the words out on paper there. And, Alan and I were trying to figure it out, and then I was at home working on, the script and all that. And then The Walking Dead comic was on my desk. And then I texted him. I said, why don't we just do a comic book and all that stuff? And then he's, and then he was like, we'll talk about it further in person. Then we started talking about it, broke it down. And then we figured out that this is probably the best way of doing it. I'm a visual person. I like to see things. And, luckily, we have Demetrius, the artist that we have as well, to really, because my idea in my head, I like to see it as like it flowing as if it's like a camera angle and kind of camera going through the pages and all that stuff. And Demetrius does that very well. And, I think like she said as well, Chris was saying as well, it's more so I could see all this stuff in my head come out on paper in physical form. And everybody else, gets to read it. And, if they like it, great, and all that stuff too. It's fun. I really enjoy it because I enjoy the zombie genre in itself, and to have this story that feels so like home to me. A lot of this stuff is inspired by real life things, in my life and in other people's lives that I see firsthand as well. So it's kind of a cool kind of concept and playing it out. And it's not cheap, but the cheapest way, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's an affordable way.
Yes. So probably a better way of saying that, because I don't want people thinking that this is like a cheap thing. Like, oh, this is cheap. Don't worry about it.
No. And the book looks great. The book looks great. That's Avalon, viewers, if you want to jump over and check that out. There's your call to action. And Brandon, it's Storace, right?
Storace. Yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Why was I calling you Brandon Lee?
Because on my Facebook name, it is Brandon Lee. For the Psycho.
That's what I thought it was.
I need to what I want to do is make a professional account, if that makes sense, for my name, Brandon, my actual name, Brandon Storace, but
okay.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And Jeofrey, let's bounce over to you here. So you're internationally renowned rapper, and you give it all up to become a comic maker. Tell us about that.
Oh man, yeah, it was a tough decision. They called me up to the Grammys, but I can't. No.
Did you have a rap name? What's your rap name?
I did. It was Cutta, Cutta.
Oh, okay,
Cutta. Yeah, I had done it. It was just a high school nickname my DJ buddy gave me, and it kind of just stuck. And I just, whatever. So, at any rate, it helped rapping and writing and creatively like that, kind of like poetry in a way, putting the words together and make them rhyme and kind of tell a story, gave me a good kind of paved the way for what I'm doing now. And then I got into Dungeons and Dragons really heavily, about 3 years ago, and started. And then after I was playing, I
love you, Ryan.
The game and world build and homebrew. And it was that really opened up the floodgates for me to be more creative. And then I tried to put together a novel, and I've got like 30,000 pages of like a fantasy novel kind of written somewhere off to the side that I never really finished, because then I got the opportunity to make a comic book, and it just kind of happened. I had a guy that was buying books from me as a tattoo artist, and he had some really cool stuff. And we just kind of, one thing led to another, and we came up with the Awful Thoughts idea, and his buddy chipped in and helped, and we all kind of just came together and made that book. And then and that's how it started. But comic books are so much fun. When I remember going and picking them out with my dad when I was young, and he would tell me about the books he read, and Batman is how I got into that. And they're so much fun to read and to look through and everything. And the artwork is great. I've always I've always loved artwork, and I'm not the greatest artist, but growing up, I loved trying, and so having these other guys that can come in and kind of bring my words to life, like visually, is really cool to see how it transpires. And but yeah, comics are just a lot of fun. Again, I personally, I'll be the first to tell you, I thought it would be the more affordable way to go, but it doesn't. It can get a little pricey here and there. If you get help from the community, great. But man, you start really looking at the costs and stuff, and it can be a little bit, like Brandon said. I would love to see, my ultimate goal would be to use the comic book medium as a platform to get my stuff turned into like screenplays and adapted for film and television or whatever. That would be the dream, to be sitting in like a chair on the set of a movie, watching the characters you've created in your mind, like real life. Like that's just unreal to me. So, and then to get paid a lot of money for it, like whatever. So that'd be so cool. So that's the goal. And I think comic books, more and more now, they are a great platform for that. I think a lot of companies are looking to comic books and writers and creatives like us, whether they're independent and little small fries in the back of the catalog, or they're a big deal at Image and Marvel. They're everything in between. It's all fair game with the internet now. So that's a double-edged sword we talk about with those empty ghost groups and stuff. It doesn't matter, because one person in there that you might be looking for, you know what I mean? Or might be looking for you might see that post. So it makes it worth it. It'll wear
zero.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that's so one of my biggest fans, I have like 4, but one of my biggest fans, he just he gets so excited that it makes me more excited for it. Like he's like today, he's like, I cannot wait to get this, and I can't wait for the next one. And I have hoodies, and he's like, can you save them for the next campaign? And I was like, yes, I can. And I mean, I swear, like he is worth like 20 backers. He's just so enthusiastic. And I'm just like, I want to show him everything. I'm like, I have 5 more issues. Like, I'm just like, I just want to send it to this guy like right away. And he is awesome. And he like totally made my day. And then the show I was on before this, he was great, and he got all excited. Whenever people get excited when they read your stuff, it's such an, makes me super hyper. Like I it's not even the money. Like I just want enough to make my artist. Like I don't need to make a ton of money. I really just want to pay my poor artist, preferably a little bit more than the poor guy is getting paid. He picked his price, but he has no idea how good he is. So
he said his price.
Yeah, he picked his price. He's probably regretting it now. But yeah, he's awesome.
Lock him in for the next 100 issues.
Yeah. He's. I have 80 issues written, and he's signed up for all of them. And I said, I hope you know what you're getting into. But if I make any profit, it would pretty much go to my artist. So I just want these made and all that stuff. But I see, he said, you said what, a movie or a show, right? Mine's an animated series, rated R animated series is my dream that I want, that I'd love to see.
Cool. Just equally as awesome.
Yeah, I would love to see an animated series based on your book.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Then because it's so long. Like I was talking to my co-writer, and I said, how long is our spin-off? Like, what's the timeline? And it's 5 books. And she's like, what do you think it is? I was like, I honestly think it's like a month. These 5 books like went over like a month time. So like by the time you went through any of my series, the people would be like retired, So it's like I think the animated is the best option. But yeah, one super backer, whether they spend a lot or not, but one enthusiastic backer to me is worth like 20 backers. So
I buy that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump over to Brandon. I have a quick question, which is, let me think of the right way to ask this. We talked a little bit a week or 2 ago about how customers seem to perform the best when they are discovering the material for themselves. Here's what I mean by that. When you're shilling the book and like pitching it, some people are resistant to sales. They want to feel like they found it. That's why books do well at cons. Oh, look at this cool thing, right?
Yeah.
In your target customer, Brandon, if you like X and X, you will love Avalon. What is in your customers' X and X?
Like you're saying, like other projects and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it can be books or movies, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how would they discover you?
I would say immediately, you know, and as much as I hate to say it like this as well, because I don't want to be like it's the next thing like this, like The Walking Dead. Okay, yeah, I think if you like The Walking Dead, then I think this is an easy transition to, you know, something. If you're the problem is The Walking Dead was so long, show and comic, it's like almost like people are almost tired of it. But so it's just like if you like The Walking Dead comic book, I feel like it would be an easy transition to Avalon, you know. And again, I hate to say it like that because I don't want them to be like, oh, it's just another Walking Dead story, you know, because it's not. There's other elements to it that separates us, I believe, and you'll see that within this 6-issue spread, you know, the first story arc. And I'm just trying to think too. You know, things, you know, like 30 Days of Night, for instance, like the movie, you know, the movie more so, you know, that, yeah, which is a great movie. I love it. If you like that as well, then you would like something like that. And the problem with that is that those kind of crowds are very niche. You know what I'm saying? They kind of like very specific things. It's hard to sell to that kind of crowd, you know, especially when you start getting to that territory with like 30 Days a Night or, you know, even like 28 Weeks Later kind of crowd and stuff like that. They're so like, they like something specific. And, but I would, like I said, if you read those things that I mentioned, I think it would be a nice, easy transition into the world of Avalon, and you're going to get even more stuff with that as well.
Okay, it's a good answer. Jeofrey, how about you? For End of Man, and your target audience, what are they fans of?
So yeah, Venom for sure. And then I mentioned, I think on the Kickstarter, maybe I use Spawn as well. That would be mostly kind of in regards to like the necroplasm sort of stuff that he's got going on, not the heaven and hell side of it. But yeah, that without giving away too much, that whole sort of symbiosis kind of deal, and then would pander to anybody that, you know, enjoys that sort of stuff, primarily Venom. And then also X-Files is a great example, because it's just got that whole kind of conspiratorial government agency element, you know, with different scientific sci-fi tropes without having to give away too much. And I'm going to jam pack it all in there. The first issue, I want to kind of just kind of confuse and kind of have people be like, man, what is going on? That's crazy. And then hopefully by the time I get to that second issue, when we get there, we'll kind of open it up a little more and have some exposition and kind of really just open up the floodgates for all this weird, crazy stuff, and then close it out with a third and see where it goes from there. You know, I don't want to be too ambitious with this one. I want to make it kind of just a small little self-contained project. But yeah, X-Files and Venom, I think, are two great examples.
You're already ahead, Jeofrey, as I'm fond of saying, and it's true for everybody in here. You made something. Like, remember the gulf between, what's the right way to say this? Again, I don't want to seem like I'm putting anybody down, but, and Carissa knows this too. We meet so many creators and they say things like, man, I got this idea. It's 110 volumes and each one is 4,800 pages and it's a saga of all the, and I always tell them something like, dude, make a short story and just make the darn thing, make something. Because, you know, especially if you're a writer looking for an artist, the guy won't take you seriously if you say, hey, I got this idea for a 13-volume set. It's like, dude, make a page first, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Well,
that definitely makes sense.
I started off early on and I got into these groups and started meeting people after I had my initial, you know, after Awful Thoughts was done. I wanted to branch out into multiple directions and had other people come in and want to invest and make books and stuff. And so we kind of set out and met new people, and some of it worked, some of it didn't. It was all just trial by fire. And crap, I lost my train of thought. We were talking about
I hate that.
Shoot. I can't remember what you were saying, Timothy. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We were saying a little bit about how it basically all ties into who our target audience is where I was going with it. And I guess in Carissa's case, do you remember, you mentioned earlier about how it was comics inspired you when you were younger.
Ghost Rider.
You remember it was Ghost Rider. Do you remember
I still have them all. Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Danny Ketch was where I learned it. I think it was issue 7 is my first one. And then I collected it through Spirits and the Vengeance and Midnight Suns, and then I fell in love with Johnny Blaze, and my brother is older than me, so he originally collected Johnny Blaze. So yeah, it was Ghost Rider to, you know, yeah, I have a theme, I guess.
Gotcha. Sure, that makes sense. Brandon, how about you? Do you remember?
Sorry.
My question is, if you were a collector first, and if there was a book that gave you some influence.
Really what put me into the comic book world, again, I hate doing this, was The Walking Dead. Because I watched.
Dude, it's one of the best ones. I wouldn't
Yeah.
feel bad about that.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with it, man. Robert Kirkman, low print run, black and white, like out of nowhere, and now it became like a worldwide phenomenon. And it's tapered off.
Yeah.
The writing and the boomerang writing, I think people didn't like, but man, you're not. I wouldn't say anything, but you're good. People, Walking Dead, good. If zombie fans, they'll be interested. You say The Walking Dead.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things too, because when I watch a show, I watch it from start to finish. I didn't know it was a comic book until about season 3, honestly. And once I found out it is when I started getting the comics, and then I started collecting all of them. I was pretty behind, when I started collecting them. So then I started buying the volume, started trying to catch up and all that stuff with the comics. And then that opened up my world into comics in general. And then I started getting just your traditionals, your Batmans and stuff like that. And I would read a little bit of those. The old stories as well, I think, were fun too, like the cheap ones. I can't even remember what Batman it is. There's like 1,000 of them, but there's one where it's like an older one, and it's a cool story. I'll have to find it. It's buried under 1,000 comics in front of me, but yeah, it's just like stuff like that. And then that's what ended up opening it up, and just me getting into stuff like I have. Literally, I didn't even know the movie The Crazies. I didn't even know it was a comic book. I just saw it at the comic book store, like a bundle, 3-4 issue bundle, and I just bought them. I like stuff like that. It's fun to me.
I love The Crazies, by the way. Great movie.
Oh, it's a great movie. I love that movie.
That's one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
The remake. I've only watched bits and pieces of the original, but the remake is what I like.
Well, the only thing the original has going for it is it's a George Romero movie, but it's kind of his not as cool movie.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah.
So Jeofrey, let's jump over to you. What was your are you a comic collector also?
Yeah, I just haven't had time as much lately. I get kind of, because I buy them and sell them and resell them, like I try to not get too attached to them.
What are you buying and selling? What are you buying?
I would have to.
Oh man, anything, collections, and then I do consignment for people, and I've worked on all sorts of books. I've cleaned and pressed and submitted all sorts of Golden Age, Silver Age, modern stuff.
I'm a Silver Age.
If I had right now, I'm collecting and hoping to stay loyal to these books. Anything Mandalorian related. I love Star Wars, but primarily Grogu and Din Djarin. I just love those characters, so I'm trying to get all their stuff. There's a second coming out soon. I'm excited. I'll have more to collect for that. And then Dr. Doom is my absolute favorite bad guy, besides Darth Vader and Shredder from the Ninja Turtles. Dr. Doom is second to none, like a sorcerer Iron Man. Like, come on, dude, who's gonna stop that guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love Dr. Doom.
And the world's about to find out when Secret Wars comes out. You know what I mean? They're gonna get a big old dose of Dr. Doom. I'm super excited about that. So that was a great source of. Oh yeah, for sure. I watched a deal with Stan Lee talking about Iron Man, and he had said that Dr. Doom was originally designed to be his arch nemesis, and if you look at their character designs, very similar. And it just, for whatever reason, it didn't. Yeah, and his same way with his personality, how he's a very rich guy, that's like a playboy guy but he just owned his own. He was the head of his own country or whatever, But nevertheless, I thought that was really cool, and then how they moved that character over to fit with the Fantastic Four, and now he's kind of synonymous with them, and. That's just great telling and writing. It makes you think, like, what was Stanley? What were those guys, man? They had to be smoking or drinking something crazy to think of like a sky, like a spider guy flying through New York with webs, and then like, who's his arch enemy going to be? Oh, dude, let's make him like a goblin, like on a jet glider. Like, what were you? Where do you come up with such creative, cool stuff? So all of that. All that stuff, and Batman. My dad brought me up on Batman. He had that somewhere around here. I've got the original trade paperback for the Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller stuff. And Frank Miller's great. He's done Sin City was an awesome movie adaptation, I thought, from that noir kind of black and white stuff, like really well done. You know what I mean? And, and there's
Robert Rodriguez.
Like Brandon was saying earlier, oh yeah, he's great, and they'll catch you off guard nowadays. You'll watch a show and be like, "Damn, that was a comic book." You know what I mean? Like that happens more and more now. You know what I mean? So like I said, the market's ripe for the picking. If we can get our stuff out there to the right people and just keep delivering a high-powered, nice, awesome story and product to people, I think it's just a matter of time. You know what I mean? It's a tough grind, you know?
You know, we could save this for another show, but it would be a great topic. I have a controversial opinion. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, what is it?
The Marvel Universe, the MCU, is done. You look back fondly on the best movie. It was Endgame. And people say, no, they're going to keep going. And first of all, I'm a little older, so I'm going to tell you something. In the late 60s, early 70s, they had a thing with Westerns. And the studios kept saying, for a few dollars more, the good, bad, and the ugly, keep making Westerns. People won't stop coming. They love Westerns. Guess what? Eventually, people had enough Westerns. I love comic book movies, but I eventually had to just lay down and go, okay, these are not good anymore. I think it was the Eternals what made me say it. And then, of course, you got, Ant-Man 3, and you're onto all the D and E and F and G level characters.
I'll tell you, as just like an average kind of like fan in that kind of category, because I don't really read too much of like the Marvel, and I love like your higher up people like Spider-Man and all that stuff too. But just as the average person who watched those movies, from beginning, Iron Man to Endgame, basically, and just from the outsider perspective, again, it could be controversial and all that stuff, but I think all that stuff. You could do that stuff with comics, but the way they're doing it now, they have 50 shows that tie in with each other. And it's like, come on, how much time do you have? You can't sit down here and watch all these shows and then figure out, okay, now we're doing this. It's hard to do that with shows. Although it's cool. It's a cool idea. I think it's just way too hard to get the fans you had from Iron Man to Endgame to follow along with. I mean, I haven't watched, I don't know any of those spin-off shows, honestly. Like, I hate to admit it, but really though, I don't have the time to pick up all these shows and figure out what ties in with what, and it's just too much. It's way too much.
It'd be different if they were good. This is one man's opinion. That's why there's chocolate and vanilla, but the shows and the new movies, they're not good. I don't know.
I feel the same. I feel the same way. I still enjoy them, and I'm okay. I like watching them all. And they're lately though, ever since like you said, Endgame, it just hasn't been the same. I don't know if they're micromanaging the writing jobs, and when they did these shows, and they're just not being. Some of them, surprisingly, I really enjoyed, whereas others, I didn't. I like it all. I mean, and I haven't been inspired to go to the movie theater. I went to go see Thor: Love and Thunder. And honestly, that was a big one too. I'm a big Gore the God Butcher fan. And even though his design didn't look quite right, like there were parts where they would show him like in the entropy and like kind of tease you like, ooh, is he going to transform or something? But they didn't, and I love Christian Bale. I was like, man, they can't screw this up. Right. And the ending of it, I just did it. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is just hot mess that just tries
20 minutes in each time.
And before that, like you said, I didn't even watch the Eternals. It just didn't appeal to me. And I'm a guy that's like way open-minded about all these new characters. I didn't think I would like Kate Bishop Hawkeye, and I loved that show. I thought it was pretty good. Great. I like that one. And I'm excited.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was really well put together. Haley Steinfeld really made me interested in Hawkeye, and I didn't even really care about Clint Barton and Jeremy Renner. I started liking him more. I mean, I feel like those were well written. There's some stuff I think they're going to nail. They're going to get it right, and they're going to make a lot of people happy. But I think a lot of the other stuff is going to be very hit and miss. They're just throwing crap at the wall and then hoping, I guess, there's got to be some grand plan for Kang and what they want to do with Doctor Doom and Secret Wars. But how they get there, if they get there, I mean, it's just right now, I don't, you know what I mean? And it feels like they're doing that with Star Wars too. It's like they really kind of tease me along with Star Wars, where they'll just do something really cool and then they'll just do something completely off the wall. Like, and I think it's just, they're trying to, they're just, they have to consume and they have to create a bunch of stuff, and really kind of just feed the beast. And so it's really hard to keep a leash on all of that once the cat's out of the bag. And I think that's kind of, we're getting that superhero fatigue, and they're just kind of having, like I said, it's, I think we're all we're all collectively on the same page about that.
There's a little fatigue. I think that's That's the right way to put it. So, guys, we're starting to run out of time. So while we get to the end, let's do a call to action. I'm going to ask the viewers right now to head over to Kickstarter, check out Worthy Chaos Redemption. That's by Carissa Grant. We're going to see if we can get this thing to 100 backers. It looks like you got 3362. You're roaring right along, Carissa. Congratulations.
Yeah, rolling.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So, and tell us a little bit. Can you tell the group the elevator pitch and why we should go buy it right now?
It is Romeo and Juliet in Hell, set in Silent Hill, Resident Evil world. It's pretty much survival horror between these two characters at its most basic level, and then you have all of heaven and hell against them, and trying to stop them from doing anything, I suppose. But there's a lot more behind the scenes that they aren't aware of and we're not aware of. And pretty much, if you've played any horror survival game like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, then, or watch Supernatural, you're going to love this. The only difference between this and Supernatural, well, there's obviously a lot, but in the aspect of the demons and angels, all of ours are accurate to their name and their jobs and their duties, unlike Supernatural, which I love the show, but they just named anything whatever they wanted and just did whatever they wanted with it. So we did a lot of research, and our characters have a lot of depth, and it's never boring.
This is the fourth issue we're up to.
This is the fourth issue. This is where our vampire, the Clotters, come in. They have a hive mind. Once they taste your blood, they can track you anywhere like a homing beacon. And if you kill one, they will track you down out of revenge and not stop until you're dead. And that's what pretty much happens. So
it's pretty cool. Sounds good. Well, I certainly wish you the best of luck with it, Carissa. And I also want to say I'm grateful for your tireless support of the indie community. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, Brandon, let's jump over to you. We're going to do a call to action here. Viewers, this is Avalon. It's over on Kickstarter right now. Come on over and check out this zombie thriller. Brandon, give us a quick elevator pitch and tell us why we should buy it right now.
Yeah, Avalon is basically a drama story that's set in a zombie apocalypse. You follow this disarranged castle family that I mentioned, and through thick and thin and all that stuff, they have a lot of drama before this apocalypse even starts. You figure that out immediately, and then it kind of trickles into the next few issues coming up here, and some key points and all that stuff is going to be answered here the next few issues that are coming out that we're pushing on the Kickstarter right now. My favorite thing so far with some of these shows, a favorite element that these shows bring are really just focusing on more the drama aspect of it, and just kind of having zombies there, and really kind of getting to know new characters and all that stuff, because we've all been through that pandemic, before. So it's kind of that, but just elevated a little bit more. Now you have people literally attacking each other and biting each other and eating each other. So it's just that kind of thing on steroids, so we've all been through it. We can all relate to this, these characters that we're meeting and all that stuff as well, and really trying to shine a light on mental health and physical illnesses that people have to deal with and take medications for on a day-to-day basis. And like I said, really trying to shine that light on that aspect of this whole thing, and make these characters feel real. Everything they say, everything they do, and their problems that they're dealing with and how they think, we're trying to make them feel as real as possible.
Excellent. Well, Brandon, it looks terrific. I wish you every success with this project. And I have to say, you answered that question exactly right. Here's what I mean by that. There was a lot of people that said about The Walking Dead in the first couple, 6 issues, 7 issues, like, hey, this isn't really about zombies too much, but it's super compelling drama. Yeah.
And that's the thing, the good thing is we're trying to take everything good out of the projects that you've seen in zombie genre and trying to weed out all the bad that you hated about those movies as well, and again, this is all our opinion and our approach into this whole story, but I think a lot of it was, for me, I liked the aspect of making it real, because people deal with mental health on a day-to-day basis. People take medication on a day-to-day basis. So now that asks you, how this comic started with the question is, how would I survive in the zombie apocalypse? So we try to make that a thing with anybody who picks up Avalon and reads it, and you could think that for yourself, because you will eventually find a character that you can relate to in some way, shape, or form, and you could ask yourself that kind of question and see how the character that you were watching and seeing how they survive and how that would end up being in your kind of world.
That sounds cool, man.
Yeah,
sounds cool, man. That's Avalon. Viewers, check that out. That's over on Kickstarter right now. Let's jump over to End of Man by Jeofrey Cotton. So real quick, Jeofrey, tell us the elevator pitch for End of Man and why we should rush out and buy this right now.
Okay, and End of Man is about an aspiring astronomer who encounters a meteorite and is forever changed. She undergoes rapid evolutionary changes, and that's kind of where the name comes from. End of Man has become something more than human, possibly. So, what did you say, Timothy, besides my elevator pitch?
Why they should rush out and buy it right now.
Oh, okay.
Call to action.
Because it's awesome. It's a fun story. I worked really hard on it. The full color and stuff has really made it pop now, and it's exciting. Again, it's only going to be 3 issues, so hopefully that's not too much of a commitment for anybody that's apprehensive about. There's some great cover art on it. There's a really neat Earth Skull variant by Tom Cuthbert. And then Mariano Fadrolin Jr., he's the interior artist. He also did cover A and then the variant cover as well. So they're neat. They're going to be well put together. They're all, as far as I can tell, they'll look nice and professional. That's a really clean product, and it'll be delivered on time. So that's my hope, is that we can get some support and reach that funding goal in the next 22 days or whatever we got.
Okay, gotcha. And how long did you run the campaign for?
30 days.
30 days. And Brandon, how long was yours?
We're doing a 60-day campaign for ours. Yeah.
And Carissa, how long was yours?
28 days, so that it ended on a day that I'm not working.
Gotcha. I saw yours. You clipped yours a little short, and I went a little bit longer. I'm kind of in between everybody. I went to 37 days. I wanted 30 days, but I wanted it to go past Free Comic Book Day and Star Wars Day.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, like, I feel like it's been going forever. So I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I've done some 50 and 60 dayers, some 2-month campaigns, and it's nice to have that you've got like a little safety net there, because you got ample time to really reach out. And if you get busy and you've got stuff going on, it gives you a lot of freedom to kind of take ease into it, but man, it just feels like forever. And then with me personally trying to move to a different project. I need to
laugh at you when you said three issues is a commitment, because I have 45. So I was like, I wish mine was only 3. So
as soon as I said it, I was like,
yeah, I'm a little worried about mine, but in my defense, the first arch is 7, so I got something, a little shorter.
Trust me, if you can keep people hooked for 4 or 5, I'm sure they'll follow you through for indefinitely. Look at back to The Walking Dead to kind of come full circle. 150 or whatever issues of The Walking Dead, and
it's funny.
It felt like it would never end, and came ahead. No.
Yeah,
192 to be specific, but yeah. Very well.
There you go.
Okay, I don't feel so bad now. Somebody asked me what type of zombies I had, and I actually have 3 kinds that I didn't even think about before. I have the Dawn of the Dead kind, where they're coming through hell for issue 1 because they're merging with hell. But issue 2, they're in a haunted asylum, and the zombies are actually they're possessed by ghosts. So it's kind of a different version of zombies, because it's still zombies, but it's a different reason. And then for book 3, they're the virus from Resident Evil. So I do have 3, but I never thought about it until someone's like, "What kind of zombies do you have?" And I was like, "Huh."
Well, don't forget the 4th kind. This is the perfect time to say it. Worthy Chaos and Avalon cross worlds. She has the Avalon affected in there.
You know what? I will tell you, and the funny, I am starting to write a crossover of other indie comics, and I have 4 people that signed up. So my character has to cross through portals into other comic books as they search.
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
So anyone that wants to guest star in it or actually be in a whole issue, I do have that in the works. So we could have a crossover if you ever want to. So Laurie and I are doing one because she wants to make my character jealous by kissing my girl's hand. So that and then they're gonna do that, and they're gonna cross over with Night Wolf because she's gonna hunt them, being a a supernatural hunter. So and Mary Machine Gun is going to be in it. So yeah, I love crossovers because when I grew up with, I love seeing my characters in other people's worlds. So anyone wants to cross over, you just let me know.
I like the crossover. I'm writing a feature film right now. Well, I'm working on one, but the original idea was supposed to be something where there were portals and stuff like that would kind of take place. And that's going to be for a separate one. We kind of broke it apart in one separate, and then that's going to be a different thing. But I like crossovers too. Those are always fun.
Yeah, nice. I love it.
Well, in closing, gang, I just want to say it was a terrific time seeing you and to learn more about your projects and about your setting. Carissa, always a pleasure. Thanks for jumping in at the last minute.
Thanks for my pity interview for today.
Well, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Carissa had been banned from Facebook, and we kind of know each other. And I was like, "Well, you come on, and we'll do a pitch for the."
Yes. I appreciate.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spill the beans if you hadn't said anything. I was going to say I'm sorry about that. I don't want to put you on blast.
Well, the sad part is I didn't do anything fun to get banned. Like, I don't know why I'm banned. I mean, if you're going to get in trouble and wind up in jail, you want to do something worth it. So
yeah,
next time I'll do something worth it.
I'm on here with somebody who got banned. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Careful, it's infectious.
You guys should have told me before this. No.
But yeah, I wish you all the best of luck with these projects. They look terrific. Viewers, go please right now and check them out. We're having a good night tonight. This is on something like 12 channels, so hopefully you'll pick up some customers. But it's been a pleasure talking to you on the Creative Cranium. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.